Hey everybody, today's the 17th of August, 2014, Sunday, as per usual. That crash, bang, commotion was the soap I'm going to be using today, which is one of my absolute favorites, Martin de Candre, the original lavender masterpiece. I'm going to be using today, well, actually, mug that I'm soaking my brush in. My brother was in the Coast Guard. He was stationed in Detroit, Michigan, my favorite little corner of the earth. So in here, I have soaking what I think is my favorite brush, Kent BLK12. This thing is incredible. It's incredible. Remember when I said that? I meant it. So, this week, I guess the major thing of this week was Tuesday. Tuesday was my gig. I had a gig for the first time in about 5 years. Actually, it was over 5 years. First time in over 5 years. And it went really, really well. Took me a couple of records to, dust off the cobwebs, I suppose you could say. But after that, it was really, really good. One of my friends that was there actually that night, he's a DJ as well. His name is Sean. He's actually a very good DJ. And I don't really say that about too many people, particularly people that play drum and bass like I do. But he had mentioned, that like he was pretty surprised at the reaction that some of the records were getting. I guess you could say it's a very niche style of drum and bass. Well, it's a niche subgenre of a very niche genre of music to begin with. Again, I play drum and bass. Even though techno is like what I'm I guess what I've grown to be more passionate about over the past few years. I play drum and bass. Drum and bass is my first love. There still is absolutely no music in the world to DJ like drum and bass. It's just, man, it's so good. The satisfaction that I get, from playing drum and bass is just it's next level. So yeah, it was it went very, very well, and I stayed far later than I intended on staying, and I actually got to play right before the headliner, a guy called Bailey from London, member of the esteemed Metalheads crew, one of the older members actually. And look at this lather. Do you see this right now? You can't really see what it is, but man, this stuff is just... Martin de Candre is everything that all the ball washers say that it is, including myself. Yeah, so it was really, really good. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. It went better than I figured. I knew it would go well because I'm a good DJ, but it went pretty damn well, and I have to say that I was satisfied with the gig. At first I was kind of I guess a little upset with myself for agreeing to the gig in the first place, because I like to think that I'm a man of my word, and I said in 2009 that I was never going to play out again, and I had every intention of living up to that, but didn't quite work out that way. It didn't quite work out that way, but, even though I'm not really the type to make excuses, in my defense, when I made that decision to stop playing in 2009, the world was a distinctly different place than it is now. My blade that I'm going to be using today, it's not a silver blue, but it's closely related. It's a Gillette Platinum. This is my absolute #1 no-holds-barred favorite blade in the world. I just hate how expensive they are, but damn, these blades are so good. So, and of course, I'm going to be starting off with an above the tie open comb R2, and let's get this show on the road, huh? So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I play a pretty niche pretty specialized style of drum and bass. And drum and bass, like I mentioned, drum and bass is kind of a specialized niche sort of music to begin with anyway. But I play, it's a style that's been dubbed neurofunk. Neuro, of course, being the root word for anything having to do with the brain. I personally think it's a very smart form of drum and bass. But, you know, that's kind of a condescending thing to say, but I don't really look at it that way, you know. I just think it's, I guess, a concept that I've been getting more and more familiar or comfortable with over the past few weeks. It is what it is, you know. Like I said, I think it's a smarter form of music. It's not like super heavy-handed like a lot of the more blatantly dance floor styles of drum and bass. So yeah, sometimes the reception on the floor is not really as nice as it should be. But that was not an issue on Tuesday night, which is crazy to think that it was even on a Tuesday anyway. But yeah, like I said, the gig went really, really well. I played for 45 minutes, and I played right before Bailey. And Bailey was standing in front of the monitor towards the end of the set, and I was kind of like, come on, man, like, please. But whatever, I was still able to hear the monitor, so it wasn't the world's biggest deal. You know, as always, I brought a ton of records, and I didn't get to play everything that I wanted to play because nobody ever does. So by the time that this gets uploaded, I'll have a link in the description of a mix that I recorded with the records that I brought to the gig. Some of the tunes are going to be things that I actually played. Some of the things are going to be things that I wanted to play that I didn't get a chance to. So I think it's going to be a pretty decent little mix, and I'm actually, yeah, looking forward to sharing it with you guys. And I actually am going to try a different, order in shaving my head today. What I'm going to do is, you know, because I do the one pass against the grain straight away now. So on the top back of my head, I'm going to go up, you know, against the grain, because it's easier for me to, like, you know, pull this forward and make that skin taut. And then once that, you know, area of the top of the back of my head has been taken care of, then I'll do the bottom part of the back of my head, and then I'll get all this shit up here. Far too much information, but whatever. If it helps somebody who shaves their head like I do, then it was worth it. I was going to start talking about the gig again. My favorite part was the fact that, you know, like I mentioned, it's been 5 years since I've played out anywhere, let alone here in Nashville. And in those 5 years, you know, the landscape of dance music, the greater landscape of dance music, let alone just, you know, what it's like here locally, is completely different. There is a new generation of kids that have discovered dance music and seem to like it a lot, even though, you know, in true old man fashion, some of the stuff that they get into, I can't. But it's okay, because you know why? I'm sure that, you know, it was like that at, you know, back in the 90s, in the mid-90s when I got into dance music, particularly playing the sort of drum and bass that I've always been into. You know, a bunch of the older heads were like, oh, this shit is terrible, this shit is bad vibes, and it's just dark, soulless music, and it's dark for no reason, it's just hard for absolutely nothing. So, you know, I guess that's how it always is going to be. There's always going to be the, you know, the group of older people, you know, that want the kids to get off the lawn, which I, of course, I am like, yeah, I will command a motherfucker to get off my lawn in a second. But yeah, so, you know, anyway, they'd never heard me play before. And I'm going to be very honest with you, I ripped it. And they, you know, they really didn't have any idea, you know, of what was going to happen. Some of them probably have never even really seen my face before, let alone, you know, heard me play records. And I actually did play records. That's something that a lot of people kind of tripped out on. You know, because these days, when I stopped playing back in '09, CDJs were the thing, you know. And I used to play I used to play on CDJs actually towards the end there. I was very fortunate in that, you know, I was able to befriend a lot of people that made very, very good tunes, and they would give them to me before they were released. Which, you know, that's always, when I very first started playing drum and bass, you know, that's always something that, I guess it was like an aspiration. Because one of the things, you know, that separates, you know, the big boys, so to speak, from just the local jocks is the fact that they were getting these tunes before they were released and made, you know, available to the general public. So, you know, that was very much a matter of pride for me. Anyway, so yeah, you know, back then, you know, I was playing on CDJs because I had all these tunes, you know, before they were released, be it digitally or on vinyl. You know, they would send me, the producers and the label owners, they would send me the tunes themselves in MP3 format, 320K. You know, and I was able to play them out, and I would give, you know, my feedback, what I thought about the tune. And this, you know, is just coming strictly from a DJ's point of view. I've never, you know what, I'm not going to say I've never, or I will never, but, you know, as of right now, I don't write tunes. I don't know that I can write tunes. Because one of the things that makes dance music great is, particularly drum and bass, is that drum and bass takes influences, you know, it takes influences from other styles of music and applies the framework of drum and bass to them. And, you know, a lot of times, like, you get just this incredible product, like the end product, the final piece of music is just, man, it's just, it's something that you know, quite possibly could have never imagined the inspiration could be interpreted as, particularly if you were not familiar with drum and bass. Drum and bass, it's one of the faster styles of dance music. Also, let's talk about this lather for a second. This stuff is just, man, it is good. If you are on the fence about getting Martin de Candre soap, get the fuck off the fence, because it's incredible. It's expensive, but it's worth it. The loading that I did on that brush, I loaded far too much soap on that brush. I could have, I mean, I've got enough to shave like, shit, I've got enough to shave twice. That's head and face. Anyway, yeah. So, you know, a lot of these kids, they'd never seen me play before. And I've gotten away from playing CDs, you know, and just MP3s in general, and I've gotten back to my records. And I've been buying records, actually, on Discogs.com, because for some reason, people are getting rid of their records at, like, straight-up decent prices, which is, like, baffling to me. Well, some of them, quite a few of them, actually, are, you know, selling for straight-up decent prices. So, you know, I've been stocking up and missing out on the things that, A, I wasn't able to afford back when they came out, or B, you know, I was just more worried about the exclusivity of playing these tunes, you know, before they were released, when they were given to me. So I'm going back and I'm picking up the things that I missed out on. But man, these kids, like I said, they'd never heard me play before, and I have to wonder, you know, how often or how many times they've seen somebody playing actual 12-inch vinyl records, and 10-inch vinyl records, of course, as well. So I think there was the added novelty factor of that, in addition to the fact that, you know, quite frankly, I'm a pretty fucking good DJ. So, you know, a lot of these kids, and I can tell that a lot of these kids really weren't too familiar with people playing records, because one of my favorite things actually about that gig, and about any gig in this format really, is, and if I'm looking at the camera, I'm just looking at the time, because this thing, the camera tends to peter out at like 20 minutes in, so I'm going to be cognizant of that and, you know, do some preventative measures, hopefully. So yeah, anyway, a lot of the kids, you know, they weren't familiar with people playing records, because the DJ setup was actually very close to the crowd, which I absolutely love. You know, when I first started playing records back in the 90s, when I first started playing out, I should say, in the 90s, you know, the way these things were set up, and by these things I mean DJ booths, they were so close to the floor, to the dance floor, and a lot of times like they were right in front of the dance floor, and they were never, I mean very rarely was it ever like on an elevated stage, which I don't like, because I like to be like right there with my crowd, with my dance floor. And I remember one of my favorite things, I used to get like everybody else's sweat on my records in addition to mine because I was so close to the crowd, and I absolutely loved that from back in the day. So, you know, this setup was set up just like that. Thanks a lot, Gino. Excuse me. Thanks a lot, Gino and Kenneth, for booking me and, you know, taking a chance on this dusty old man. Yeah. So, you know, I was right there. Like, I mean, I was all up in my dance floor's face. And it was nice because, you know, I fed off their vibe, they fed off mine. And it just ended up being a very mutually beneficial situation. So it was really, really cool. You know, and then I had a lot of people, you know, tell me afterwards they really enjoyed what I played, they liked what I heard, which is really cool. Especially considering the fact that when I play, a lot of times I try to, you know, get my dance floor comfortable with something that they probably don't have a lot of experience with. You know, kinds of drum and bass that I don't, or that they don't, I should say, have a lot of familiar with, and, you know, is maybe even a little bit outside of their comfort zone, or definitely outside of what they're used to. So, you know, it's always nice after the gig, after the set, I should say, you know, when I'm getting all my shit together, and people are telling me, yo, you know, I really liked what you played, that was cool. And, you know, I mean, I get to see them dancing right in front of me. And you know, some DJs, they like to have a crowd just like, rage is what the kids, you know, call it these days, but they, you know, they prefer to have a crowd raging in front of them. That's not my thing. I prefer to keep a dance floor dancing. You know what I mean? It's a dance floor. It's not it's not like an octagon. It's not for fighting or for being ridiculous or stupid. It's for moving your waist, getting your butt cheeks in motion, which is what I go for every time that I play. And I did a pretty decent job of it on Tuesday. So, you know, like I was mentioning, it was I really like after the gig, you know, when people are like, yo, I really like what you played. It's not really the sort of thing that I'm into, but I really liked what you had to play. Those are my favorite compliments. And I also got a compliment from a from a DJ that I have a lot of respect for. A guy called Kids Meal. Local jock here in Nashville. He's a very, very good DJ. Like, technically, he's incredible. And he, you know, he had some very nice things to say about my performance, which was very cool. And then the kids, you know, the kids that were coming up to me, yo, I really like that. That was so cool, blah, blah, blah. Like, man, that shit is nice, you know. That's kind of what, that's what it's all about. And then, you know, the people that had seen me play before, that hadn't seen me play in ages, they had a good time. They told me, you know, of course they reminded me how long it's been since they've heard me play and how much they liked it and stuff, which is always, that's really nice as well. So yeah, I guess that was a nice little way to start off my birthday week, you know. My birthday, of course, which was Friday, and you know what? Let's do this. Okay, part two. You know, like I said, my birthday was Friday. Whoa, what is this? How did that happen? Holy shit. Wow, that's a new one. I've never cut myself like that there. Yeah, the birthday was Friday. 37th trip around the sun for me. I'm old, you guys. I'm fucking old, man. Yeah, and you know, it is what it is. There it is again. Which, of course, like I mentioned in one of the other videos, is the name of one of my absolute favorite techno records ever by Derek May. Yeah, so I guess just another year, another chance to get it right, you know. to get all the things that I want to do and have and all that good stuff. I guess I have another 365 days, no, actually at this point another 363 days, to try to do it in my 37th year. So we'll see. Let's see how that works. Lord knows I'm going to try. I'm going to try my ass off. And I think I want to start, you know, I don't want to say playing regularly because that depends on how often I'm booked, but I want to start playing out again. Because I think these kids need to hear what I got to say, you know? Not to mention, you know, just the my personal satisfaction of knowing that I'm, you know, I guess continuing the craft of DJing, you know, with records, rather than playing everything through a computer. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. Like I said, I really would like to. I don't really know how I really don't know how to get back into that network or circle or scene or whatever, but we'll see how it works out, you know. Right now I'm still buzzing off the one gig. Maybe it was just that one little you know, taste of what it used to be like is all that I need or all that I'll get. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have a look. Yeah, so like I said, I'm going to record a mix actually. Out of the box of records that I brought with me. Hopefully it should turn out pretty good. I don't see why not. But yeah, I'll record that. And again, it's drum and bass. Usually everything that I've talked about so far, excuse me. Everything that I've talked about so far, you know, for those of you that are watching this video that aren't really, you know, into dance music like I am or know about dance music. One second. Who don't know about dance music like I do, you know, it's drum and bass, again, is what I play. It's about 100 and, I tend to keep it at about 170 to 172 beats per minute, which is fast, but, you know, if you think about it on the half beat, it's about this fast, which really is not that's something that you're familiar with, you know, if you've ever heard hip-hop in your life. So, yeah, and it tends to have, you know, a kick drum. I don't know what the hell that is, but that kind of sprouted out of nowhere. It has a kick drum and a snare. And it's very lively music. Or it can be, I should say. Some of it actually is very, very chill. Which, you know, the number, which denotes the tempo, kind of belies the fact that, you know, it could be such easygoing music, but, you know, it can be. But again, that's the thing about drum and bass, honestly. Like, to me, I've always thought that drum and bass, I've never looked at it as, I never looked at it as a very rigid thing. I've always looked at drum and bass as, you know, like I mentioned before, a framework of how to write a tune. And that's just, I used to have such a good definition of it when I was younger, but I don't remember what it is that I used to say, because I guess I don't try to convert people, and I shouldn't even say convert people. I don't try to, you know, just introduce people to dance music like I used to when I was younger, because unfortunately this whole EDM thing has really soured people's perceptions of dance music because of the irresponsible I guess, things that, you know, come with the whole EDM thing. And this thing just kind of stopped bleeding. I don't know what the hell happened there. So yeah, I don't remember where the hell I was going with that, but I think I'm done. I think so. I'm gonna give myself one little touch up here with the feather. And you know, speaking of that feather, which is the one that looks kind of like a straight up knife that I use up here, it's very good for like line work and, you know, detail. But I think I'm gonna start to try to learn how to do you know, all of my face with this thing. But it's scary. I'm giving myself some pretty gnarly cuts with this thing. But I've learned to tame it. I've learned to tame it to the point where I'm actually considering, you know, giving a straight razor another go. I don't know. The only thing that, man, the like, you know, a regular straight razor, you hold it like this, and it has like the bit that it's called the scales that like kind of come up this way. That just fucks up my whole balance, and it just makes it really weird to hold. Anyways, this is done. The hair removal part is done. So, draining of the sink, or the draining of the tubes, as Drexy would say, which is like one of the weirdest tunes ever. But that's because Drexy is some of the weirdest music ever. If you guys out of Detroit write some incredibly weird, very insightful, just, man, it's just very cerebral music. Against the opinion of some. So this is Thayer's Lavender Witch Hazel. The soap was a lavender soap, lavender-esque sort of soap. It's lavender, rosemary, I think, and mint is what the Martin de Candre recipe is. And as much as I love lavender, one of my friend's wives says that she hates the smell of lavender because it smells like cheap to her. And smelling this shit, I can understand why she says that. And I used to not be able to wrap my head around that. But this stuff smells like it smells like new diapers or something. I don't know. It's pretty stupid. This thing is an ingrown hair. It has to be. Although I don't know from when it could have been. All right. Gillette Platinum strikes again. Good shave. Time to wipe this stuff off, or wash this stuff off, I should say. Excuse me while I dry this shit off. All right, now time to finish this off. The coup de grace with my favorite aftershave that I own, Savon Lavande. And of course, because it's my favorite and because it's so good, it's discontinued and will never come back. And that sucks because this stuff is beautiful. Man, I wish you could smell this. Alright, this is pretty much going to be it. Thanks for watching, everybody. In the description down yonder is going to be the the link to that mix. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have a good week, and I will see you next Sunday. Peace.